Imagine having a friend, utterly devoted to fulfilling your every wish, capable of bringing to life even your most delicate suggestions. If you had such a friend, knowing their immense capability was limited only by your belief in their power, wouldn't you feel confident in their ability to fulfill your desires? Now, replace this friend with your subconscious mind, the part of you that operates beneath conscious awareness. Realize that this self is precisely the kind of friend I've described, capable of fulfilling your desires, executing your plans, and realizing your ambitions to the exact degree that you believe in its power. This friend is closer to you than your breath, closer than your heartbeat, a faithful servant walking beside you throughout life, ready to execute your faintest wish, carry out your desires, and help you achieve your goals. Every bit of support, encouragement, and belief you give this other self amplifies the magnificence and splendor of your destiny. Conversely, every negative and vicious thought, every ounce of selfishness, greed, and envy, every doubt and fear, every discouraging and destructive thought you harbor, damages and weakens this servant in proportion to your intensity and persistence. It's up to you whether this friend becomes your greatest ally, a celestial friend, or your greatest obstacle, your worst enemy. Whether we call them subconscious and conscious, or subjective and objective minds, we're all aware of these two forces constantly at play within us, one commanding, the other obeying. We know that the subjective mind doesn't initiate its actions, but receives instructions from the objective mind, which houses our willpower. Experience shows us that the subjective or subconscious mind, which I've called your personal friend, is a servant that obeys our will. It carries out our desires and faithfully records not only every thought, word, and action, but also everything we see and hear others say. Let me share a remarkable story that illustrates this truth. A young German maid, while ill with a fever, began reciting lengthy passages from famous authors in Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. Scholars were summoned to witness this uneducated girl fluently speaking languages she had no knowledge of while conscious. They were baffled, unable to understand her words. The mystery was later explained. Years earlier, the girl had lived with a pastor's family and often heard him recite the classics aloud. Her subconscious mind had faithfully recorded every word, allowing her to reproduce what she'd heard when her conscious mind was quiet. Countless cases demonstrate that our subconscious mind is a storehouse of everything that's ever happened to us, every thought, every experience, everything that passes before our eyes, everything we hear, see, or feel is meticulously recorded in our brains, thanks to our subconscious mind. If this other self, personal assistant, subconscious mind, or whatever we choose to call it, possesses such immense power, why not train it to work for us while we sleep, just as it does while we're awake? Have you ever considered the possibilities for spiritual and mental development during sleep? While the body naturally repairs and rebuilds itself, the mind can also experience growth and expansion. The great Swedish philosopher Emanuel Swedenborg firmly believed in the activity of the other self during sleep. He claimed that his spiritual vision opened up in the unconscious hours of the night. The Bible offers numerous examples of how the subconscious mind or self operates during sleep. In this state, warnings are received, tasks are dictated, visions are seen, plans are made, conversations with angels occur, and guidance on how to behave is given. Every suggestion permeates the soul during sleep and is carried out during waking hours. Theologians believe that during sleep, the soul or spirit acts independently of the body, even leaving the body to venture into the night to carry out tasks assigned by the Creator. Few people realize the immense amount of work automatically performed in the body, directed by the subconscious mind. If the entire brain and nervous system slept at night, all bodily functions would cease. The heart would stop beating, the stomach, liver, kidneys, and other glands would cease functioning, and all physical processes would halt, leading to certain death. One of nature's most profound mysteries is how it puts part of the brain and nervous system, along with most mental faculties used during the day, under the sweet ether of sleep, while repairing and rejuvenating every cell and tissue. At the same time, It maintains a multitude of bodily processes and even certain mental and creative faculties in an active and alert state, all while the sleeper remains unconscious. Most of us have likely experienced the frustration of going to bed stumped by a problem, only to wake up with a clear solution. Whether it was a math puzzle in school or a complex business dilemma, the answer often appears effortlessly overnight. Our conscious, objective selves didn't enter the mysterious laboratory where the miracle occurred. We simply know it happened while we slept, without our awareness. Consider the story of Elias Howe, the inventor of the sewing machine. After struggling for years to design a needle that could create a lockstitch, Howe had a dream where he was captured by a tribe wielding spears with holes near their tips. This dream inspired him to redesign the needle with the hole near the point, leading to the invention of the sewing machine. Such instances are not limited to inventors. Writers, artists, composers, and scientists have all reported receiving breakthroughs during sleep. While some attribute this phenomenon to the brain being refreshed and renewed overnight, there's often something more at play. Ideas are suggested, and problems are solved in ways that don't occur to the waking mind. A fascinating example is found in the biography of the renowned scientist, Professor Louis Agassiz. He had spent weeks trying to decipher the faint impression of a fossil fish on a stone slab. Frustrated, he set the work aside, hoping to clear his mind. One night he awoke convinced that he had seen the fish in his sleep, complete with all its missing features. But when he tried to hold on to the image, it vanished. The following morning, he revisited the fossil, hoping to find a clue, but the blurry imprint remained as elusive as ever. The next night, the fish reappeared in his dream, but again faded upon waking. Determined to capture the image, he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before sleep. That night, the fish returned, this time with such clarity that he could discern its features. Half dreaming, he sketched the fish in the darkness. Upon waking, he was astonished to see details in his sketch that he thought impossible to discern from the fossil itself. He rushed to the garden and, using his drawing as a guide, chiseled away at the stone, revealing the hidden parts of the fish. When fully exposed, it matched his dream, and drawing perfectly, allowing him to easily classify it. These stories highlight the immense power and intelligence of the subconscious mind. It's a force that operates beyond our conscious awareness, continuously working to solve our problems and offer insights. By acknowledging and harnessing this power, we can unlock our full potential for creativity, innovation, and problem-solving. We've all heard stories of the incredible feats performed by sleepwalkers. They rise from bed, fully dressed, navigate doors, and even venture into dangerous situations they'd never dare approach while awake. Some have been known to walk along rooftops, riverbanks, or cliff edges, where a single misstep could be fatal. They talk, write, act, and move as if fully aware of their actions. A sleepwalker can even answer questions and hold a rational conversation, much like someone in a hypnotic trance. This trance-like state allows external influence while the person remains unconscious. Surgeries have been performed on hypnotized individuals without anesthesia, and there's no doubt this could also be done during deep sleep. The subconscious mind is more susceptible to suggestion when the conscious mind is dormant, as there's no resistance from preconceived notions or external influences. We're on the brink of incredible possibilities for treating illnesses during sleep. The same goes for forming habits, changing mindsets, improving mental faculties, strengthening weaknesses, eradicating peculiarities and idiosyncrasies, neutralizing harmful hereditary tendencies, increasing capacity, and altering dispositions. The potential for building the mind during sleep is only beginning to be realized. The power of the subconscious mind over the body is evident in how thoughts induced in a hypnotized person can significantly alter blood circulation, directing it to any part of the body. A hypnotist can make their subject blush or pale, express fierce anger or a captivating gaze, and even induce anesthesia in any body part, allowing needles or knives to be inserted without pain. They can convince the subject that water is whiskey, resulting in a convincing display of drunkenness, or that a spoonful of water is poison, triggering symptoms of poisoning. These illustrations demonstrate the subconscious mind's enormous potential, an area where the bounds of what is possible are always being stretched. Through comprehending and utilizing this potential, we can open up fresh pathways for recovery, development, and personal enhancement. All of us have been annoyed by the frustration of losing track of an important element in our memory maze, such as a forgotten name. How often have we stated to ourselves, "I'll remember it later," yet we can't recall right now? How frequently, after we've moved on to something else, do those overlooked nuances come to light again? When we wake up in the morning, we may have racked our brains all night long, trying hard to remember a certain piece of knowledge. This occurrence demonstrates how deeply ingrained impressions are in our subconscious minds. Every encounter, even brief ones, leaves its mark, as do ideas, feelings, and mental attitudes. Our brains make new records every day that are stored in the subconscious and are never completely erased. They are only constantly available. They stay there even if they don't always come out when called upon. They occasionally make a comeback years later with the same vividness. Consider the case of a renowned musician who struggled with writer's block for months. Frustrated and disheartened, she decided to take a break and focus on other aspects of her life. One morning, while enjoying a leisurely walk in nature, a melody suddenly popped into her head, fully formed and brimming with inspiration. This melody, born from her subconscious during a period of rest and detachment, became the foundation for her most successful album. Similarly, a scientist grappling with a complex research problem had a breakthrough while gardening. The solution, which had eluded him for weeks, emerged effortlessly as he tended to his plants. His subconscious mind, freed from the constraints of conscious effort, had been working tirelessly in the background, and the answer finally surfaced when his conscious mind was relaxed and receptive. These illustrations show that the subconscious mind is an active, creative force, as well as a passive storehouse of memories. Even in situations when we are not consciously aware of it, it is still processing information, creating connections, and finding solutions. By utilizing this enormous creative and intellectual resource, we can realize our greatest potential and produce amazing outcomes. If the subconscious mind can perform such remarkable feats, why not utilize it, especially during sleep? Why not harness this immense creative power to strengthen our abilities, expand our possibilities, and virtually extend our time and life? Imagine the lifelong impact of maintaining these creative functions in peak condition, allowing them to continue solving problems, unraveling our faculties, and advancing our plans while we sleep. We already have ample evidence demonstrating their real and constructive work. Allow me to share a compelling testimony from a doctor that sheds light on this fascinating topic. The concept of thought processes continuing during sleep is hardly debatable. During a lively discussion on spiritualism with a friend, the doctor dreamt of conducting a series of experiments to test its nature. The details of these experiments were vividly etched in their memory upon waking, showcasing the mind's active state during sleep. It's now well established that certain parts of the brain remain active, while others are under the anesthesia of sleep. However, we've barely scratched the surface of understanding the immense potential this creative part of the brain holds for our mental development during slumber. Consider the growth of a child. Most of their development, skeletal, muscular, nervous, and all 12 different tissue types, occurs during sleep, far exceeding the growth during waking hours. Similarly, our minds also grow and develop at night, shaped by the ideals, thoughts, and emotions we nurture before retiring. As the saying goes, the mind is always awake. It doesn't enter a special state during sleep, but continues to develop as it does during waking hours. In fact, we never wake up exactly as we fell asleep. We're either better or worse, having changed while we slept. While our senses are enveloped in slumber, the subconscious mind is busy at work, constructing or destroying. I firmly believe that through intelligent direction and systematic engagement of this sleepless faculty of the brain, we can guide it to create in alignment with our desires. However, most people, by failing to prepare their minds adequately before sleep, not only miss out on utilizing this marvelous creative agency, but also sabotage any chance of reaping its benefits. Preparing the mind for sleep is as crucial as preparing the body. The way we feel upon waking depends on our thoughts and feelings as we drift off to sleep. If we harbor resentment, anger, hatred, jealousy, or envy, we'll likely wake up feeling depressed, exhausted, bitter, pessimistic, irritable, and unhappy. The destroyer within us has been at work all night, wreaking havoc on our delicate brain and nerve cells. Conversely, when we go to bed with peaceful, kind, and loving thoughts, we awaken refreshed and happy. Our sleepless faculties have spent the night engaged in constructive, supportive activities. Few people consider preparing their minds for sleep, yet it's even more crucial than preparing the body. We meticulously cleanse, bathe, and moisturize our bodies, ensuring our bedrooms are well ventilated and our beds comfortable. But we often neglect the preparation of our minds, allowing subconscious processes to dismantle what we've built during the day instead of constructing for us. Many of us age and become haggard and wrinkled overnight when the opposite should occur. Nature has designed night as a time for building, renewing, and revitalizing. If we prepared our minds for sleep with the same care as our bodies, if we gave ourselves a mental bath, erasing negative and discordant images, worries, and fears that plagued us during the day, what a difference it would make in our lives and accomplishments. Imagine a stressed executive, overwhelmed by deadlines and responsibilities. Instead of dwelling on work-related anxieties before bed, they practice mindfulness meditation, focusing on their breath and letting go of worries. They visualize a peaceful scene, filling their mind with calming images and affirmations. This mental preparation allows them to fall asleep peacefully and wake up refreshed, with renewed energy and clarity to tackle the day's challenges. Another example is a student struggling with exam anxiety. Instead of staying up late and cramming information, they create a relaxing bedtime routine. They read a calming book, listen to soothing music, and practice gratitude by reflecting on positive aspects of their life. This mental shift from anxiety to tranquility allows their subconscious mind to consolidate knowledge and insights, leading to improved performance on the exam. I've witnessed lives transformed by adopting the practice of harmonizing with the infinite before sleep. Individuals who once went to bed grumpy, tired, and discouraged by anticipated troubles now retire with a peaceful state of mind. They no longer dwell on problems, but focus on solutions, replacing negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Their affairs begin to improve. They become stronger, fresher, more resourceful, and better equipped to handle difficulties, make plans, and execute them. Many complain of racing thoughts after bedtime, their brains still churning with the day's work. Of course, you can't stop thinking immediately when starting this new habit, especially if you've practiced the old habit for years. But if you persist and make it a rule to exclude anxieties, fears, business troubles, and discord from your bedroom, you'll succeed. Think of your room as a sacred sanctuary for rest, where daytime disturbances are forbidden. Place a sign on your door or somewhere visible. This is my Holy of Holies, the place of peace and supreme power in my life, from which discord must be excluded. As you prepare for bed, tell yourself, I've done my best today. Now I'll let go of thinking, worrying, and planning. I'll sleep soundly and restfully to prepare for tomorrow's tasks. Clear your mind not only of anxious thoughts about work, but also of any ill will or resentment towards others. Resolve to harbor no unkind, bitter, or negative thoughts towards anyone. Wipe the slate clean, forgetting past grievances. Imagine the words harmony, peace, love, and goodwill towards all living creatures, emblazoned in radiant letters on your bedroom walls. Repeat them until your subconscious mind is saturated with their meaning. Soon you'll drift off to sleep with a serene and composed mind, filled with happy, joyful, and creative thoughts. Of course, until the new habit is established, thoughts may intrude. But you don't need to entertain them. Just as you wouldn't allow a stranger to harm you without defending yourself, you can resist dwelling on business or discordant thoughts after retiring. If you persist in this new, improved way of falling asleep each night like a tired child, you'll wake up refreshed and happy. Your subconscious mind will eventually carry out your commands effortlessly. This sleepless subconscious self is one of your most effective agents for achieving your desires. Take insomnia, for example, a curse for many. It can be overcome with the help of your subconscious mind. If you go to bed each night convinced you won't sleep, you're a victim of your own belief. The conviction in your subconscious that there's a problem with your sleep is largely responsible for its continuation. We know from experience that we can convince ourselves of almost anything through affirmation and repetition. Over time, this establishes the belief in our minds that the thing is true. We can establish the habit of sleep just as easily as any other habit. Through affirmations and repetition in heartfelt conversations with yourself, you can regain your power to sleep normally. Your subconscious, which governs involuntary functions during sleep and waking, is there to help you. Tell your inner self, there's no reason you shouldn't sleep. There's no flaw in your physical or mental constitution keeping you awake. You should sleep soundly for so many hours each night, and there's no reason you shouldn't. Therefore, you will, starting tonight. Repeat similar affirmations throughout the day. Tell yourself, this insomnia is just a bad habit. If you were physically or mentally ill, if you had a serious nervous system defect, that would be different. But you have none of those things. You're simply a slave to a senseless obsession, and you're going to end it. You'll start right now. You'll sleep better tonight, tomorrow night, and the next. You'll put an end to this imaginary monster you've created in your mind. Prepare your mind for sleep as suggested earlier. Empty it of all worry and fear, envy and lack of charity, everything that disturbs, irritates, or excites. Replace them with thoughts of joy, good cheer, and things that help and inspire you. Go to bed with the belief that you'll sleep easily and naturally. Relax every muscle and say to yourself in a calm, drowsy voice, I'm so sleepy, very sleepy, too sleepy. Your subconscious will listen, and soon it will automatically implement your suggestion. It goes without saying that if insomnia stems from poor or irregular habits, the first step toward relief is to change those habits. We are creatures of habit, performing most life functions with varying degrees of regularity until they become automatic. Regularity, system, and order are essential for our health, success, and happiness, especially concerning sleep. Maintaining regular sleep schedules and consistent habits are crucial. Your sleep can suffer if you play as hard as you work. Refresh and rejuvenate with enjoyable recreation after work, and then, at a regular time each night, prepare your mind for sleep, just as you would your body. Give it a mental bath and clothe it with beautiful thoughts. Soon you'll establish the habit of deep, peaceful, and refreshing sleep. Make it a habit to connect with your inner self before retiring. Leave a message of upliftment, improvement, and expansion. What you yearn for and wish to achieve but don't know how. Register this call, this demand for something higher and nobler in your subconscious. It will work like leaven throughout the night, and over time, all the constructive forces within you will unite to further your goal and help you realize your vision. Imagine a struggling artist, plagued by self-doubt and creative blocks. Instead of dwelling on their frustrations before bed, they visualize themselves successfully completing a masterpiece, feeling a sense of accomplishment and joy. They affirm their talent and creativity, planting seeds of inspiration in their subconscious mind. This practice gradually unlocks their creative potential, leading to a breakthrough in their artistic endeavors. Any sleep period can become a time of growth for both mind and body. It's a time to attract your desires, a fertile moment to nurture your vision. Instead of turning your subconscious into an enemy by feeding it destructive, explosive thoughts that undo your daytime achievements, make it your friend by giving it strong, creative, and helpful thoughts to continue creating and building for you while you sleep. Consider a person battling addiction. Before sleep, they visualize themselves free from their cravings, living a healthy and fulfilling life. They affirm their strength and resilience, reinforcing their commitment to recovery. This nightly ritual gradually rewires their subconscious mind, weakening the grip of addiction and empowering them to overcome their challenges. During sleep, there are marvelous possibilities for building health, character, success, and happiness. Every thought dropped into the subconscious before sleep is a seed that germinates in the night, eventually yielding a harvest of its kind. By imprinting our desires, vividly imagining our ideals, what we should become and what we long to achieve, we'll be amazed at how quickly that wonderful force within our subjective self begins to shape the pattern and copy the model given to it. In this way, we can correct habits that harm our self-esteem, hinder our usefulness and effectiveness, and perhaps even undermine our lives. We can rid ourselves of faults and imperfections, strengthen weak faculties, and overcome vicious tendencies that willpower alone cannot conquer during the day. The subconscious mind can build or destroy, make us happy or miserable, depending on the pattern we give it before sleep. If it can solve the problems of inventors, discoverers, and troubled business people, why not utilize it more? Why not harness this tremendous mental force to build our lives, character, success, and happiness instead of destroying them? One reason is that we're just beginning to discover our ability to control this secondary self, or intelligence, that regulates all bodily functions without direct orders from the objective self. We're glimpsing its capabilities through experiments with hypnotized subjects, where the objective mind, which receives most of its material through the five senses, is switched off, and the subjective mind takes control. We are learning about the amazing power of suggestion to change attitudes and fix habits, mental defects, and moral failings. Our subconscious minds go into a hypnotic-like condition when we sleep, especially with kids when amazing things can happen. Instead of encouraging their children's frequent concerns, parents should help them prepare their thoughts for sleep by encouraging creativity and positive imagery. Consider a young person experiencing nightmares as a result of test-related stress. Their parents read bedtime stories to them or play relaxing music for them to listen to before going to bed. They sow the seeds of confidence in the child's subconscious mind by providing words of support and assurance. By progressively substituting optimism for dread, this practice promotes restful sleep and enhanced academic achievement. Children are particularly receptive to our thoughts and suggestions during sleep. Their character, abilities, and weaknesses can be significantly shaped during these hours. Suggestions made in this state often have a greater impact than those made while awake, because the subconscious mind absorbs and reflects every suggestion, while the conscious mind tends to scatter and not reproduce what's presented. A shy and introverted child, for example, can be encouraged to develop social skills and confidence through positive affirmations and visualizations during sleep. Parents can whisper words of encouragement, reminding the child of their unique talents and strengths. Over time, this practice can lead to a noticeable improvement in the child's social interactions and self-esteem. If you want your child to be beautiful in character, disposition, and personality, think beautiful thoughts into their mind as they sleep. Speak of beautiful things. A time may come when much of a child's education occurs during sleep. Their aesthetic faculties, love for music, art, and all things noble and beautiful, and their special talents and latent possibilities of all kinds, can be developed through suggestion to the wondrous creative forces within. The great secret of life lies in these creative forces, and blessed is the one who finds it. Doubly blessed is the one who finds it early in life. As Rawson suggests, we don't truly count a person's years until they have nothing left to count. The ability to mentally retain the image of youth in all its glory, vivacity, and splendor has a powerful influence in slowing the aging process. Age begins in the heart. When the heart grows cold, the skin wrinkles, and the appearance of age imprints itself on the body. The mind becomes dull, ideals fade, and the juices of life congeal. There are those who anticipate old age as a time when, as one contemporary author puts it, you feel unwanted. Those you've supported and nurtured have long gone their own way. And the world of thought rushes past, leaving you in a quiet eddy, groping blindly for the fullness of the stream, always gently but hopelessly pushed aside. Such an old age exists, but not for those who face life correctly. Such a pathetic, tragic end is not for those who love and are loved, who keep their hearts open to life's joys and sorrows, who maintain a sympathetic interest in their fellow beings and the progress and upliftment of the world, who keep their faculties sharpened by use and whose minds constantly expand and grow in love and service to humanity. A gloomy and useless old age is reserved for those who haven't learned to live. Growth in knowledge and wisdom should be the only indication of our added years. Dr. Sudastur, a leading authority on aging, believes it's possible to extend life with maximum vigor and vitality until its natural end, when the individual welcomes a peaceful release. He asserts that the death instinct will supplant the life instinct as the body nears its natural exhaustion. He believes people should live and remain productive for at least 120 years. The author of The Philosophy of Longevity suggests that humans can live up to 200 years. Philosophically speaking, the human body possesses unparalleled resilience. No machine invented by humans could withstand the constant demands we place on our bodies for even a single year. Yet, it continues to function. What truly horrifies us is the premature decline of our faculties, the loss of power and opportunity, and the decay of the body long before our time on earth is done. This dread is amplified because life is becoming increasingly interesting. There's never been a time when life seemed so precious, so full of possibilities, with so much to live for as in this glorious present. We stand on the brink of a new and wondrous era, and the entire human race is filled with anticipation. The idea of old age, characterized by decline and forced inactivity, has never been more repugnant. But why should anyone anticipate such a period? It's precisely this expectation, this anticipation and dread of old age, that makes us old, senile, and useless. The creative forces within us are based on our suggestions and our thought models. If we constantly feed our consciousness with thoughts of old age and images of decrepitude and declining faculties, these thoughts and images will manifest in our bodies. Consider a woman who, upon reaching a certain age, resigned herself to the inevitability of physical decline. She adopted a slower pace, a hunched posture, and a pessimistic outlook. Despite being in good health, her body began to mirror her beliefs, and she experienced a rapid deterioration in her physical and mental well-being. Conversely, a man in his 70s who embraced a youthful mindset and actively engaged in physical and mental activities defied the typical signs of aging. He maintained a vibrant energy, a sharp mind, and a positive outlook on life. His body responded to his beliefs, remaining strong and agile well into his later years. These examples highlight the power of our thoughts and beliefs in shaping our reality. If we harbor fear and negativity towards aging, we create the very conditions we dread. But if we choose to focus on vitality, growth, and continued learning, we can unlock our full potential and live a long, fulfilling life. Why dwell on thoughts of old age when you can embrace the present and all its possibilities? Why visualize decrepitude, forgetfulness, and declining faculties when you can focus on continued growth and learning? Remember, what you concentrate on, what you fear, the images that terrify you, are creating the very conditions you'd give anything to escape. If you truly wish to resist the aging process, you must change your thoughts. Erase all age-related negativity from your mind and visualize youthful conditions. Tell yourself, God is my life. I cannot grow old in spirit, and that is the only old age to fear. As long as my spirit is youthful and I feel young in my life, I cannot truly age. The biggest mistake people make as they age is disengaging from the things that keep them young. After 50, many start to mock youthful behavior, feeling it's inappropriate for their age. Day by day, they slip further into the habits of old age. We build our lives based on the images we hold in our minds. This is a fundamental law of the mind. When you reach the age where most people show signs of aging, you may feel you should follow suit. You might think your best work is behind you and your faculties must inevitably decline. You imagine your abilities deteriorating, your sharpness fading, your endurance waning. You feel you should slow down, exercise less, work less, and take it easy. The moment you allow yourself to believe your faculties are declining, they will. Your appearance and physical condition will mirror your convictions. If you maintain the thought that your ambition is fading and your abilities deteriorating, you'll convince yourself that younger people are surpassing you. you'll voluntarily take a back seat, figuratively speaking, behind them. Once you do this, you're doomed to be pushed further and further to the rear. You'll be judged by your own assessment, having confessed to old age in thought and action. Younger individuals will naturally be favored over you. Imagine a successful entrepreneur who, upon reaching their 60s, started to believe their innovative ideas were drying up. They gradually withdrew from active participation in their business, allowing younger colleagues to take the lead. As a result, their confidence dwindled and their creative spark diminished, fulfilling their own prophecy of decline. On the other hand, a woman in her 70s who remained passionate about her work and continued to challenge herself with new projects defied the stereotypes of aging. Her enthusiasm and drive inspired those around her, and her contributions remained invaluable to her company. These instances highlight how our perceptions of aging are self-fulfilling. We bring about that reality for ourselves if we allow ourselves to believe that our abilities must eventually deteriorate. However, we can preserve our vitality and continue to be productive and happy for the duration of our lives if we decide to adopt a growth mindset, learn new things constantly, and push ourselves. If those who have aged prematurely could examine the factors that deprive them of their youth, they would discover that the majority originate from an incorrect belief that they have to reach a specific age. Not all worry is warranted. Petty uneasiness frequently results from conceit, envy, and giving in to feelings like fury, retaliation, and negative thinking. If these impacts were removed, they might become much more young. The laws of renewal and rejuvenation are always operating within us and will be effective if we don't neutralize them with erroneous thoughts. The chemical changes caused by worry, fear, explosive passions, or any depressing mental disturbance are what set the aging process in motion. What we establish with fixed conviction in our lives, we transmit to our children, and this conviction gains cumulative force over centuries. In many cultures, there's a deeply ingrained belief that a certain age marks the limit of human life. This belief becomes so ingrained that we start preparing for the end long before reaching that perceived limit. As long as we hold on to this belief, we can't shake the accompanying suggestion that our faculties decline once we pass the halfway mark. The very idea that we've reached our peak, that we must abandon all hope of further progress, etches the image and conviction of old age deeper into our minds. And of course, our creative processes can only reproduce the model they've been given. Some individuals cross the zenith, the point from which they believe they must descend, a quarter century earlier than others. This is because we cross this mental demarcation line first, the moment we're convinced we've passed our peak productivity and entered a period of diminishing returns. Consider a young athlete who, after suffering a minor injury, became convinced their career was over. They stopped training as rigorously, adopted a defeatist attitude, and their performance plummeted. This self-fulfilling prophecy robbed them of years of potential success. Many people have what they call a premonition that they won't live past a certain age, and this becomes the focal point of their entire lives. They start preparing for the end, and their conviction that they'll die at a specific time largely sets the limit of their years. A brilliant scientist convinced they had inherited a genetic predisposition for a debilitating disease lived their life in constant fear of its onset. They avoided taking risks, pursuing their passions, and fully embracing life's opportunities. This self-imposed limitation prevented them from reaching their full potential and enjoying a fulfilling life. It's infinitely better to believe we'll live many more years than we're likely to, than to cut short precious years by setting a fixed date for our death simply because our parents died at a certain age or because we fear inheriting a disease. Consider the psychological damage that results from telling a child repeatedly that their parents or other family members would probably pass away at an early age. If they absorb this belief, they might not be able to prolong their lifespan much past a certain point, even if they are lucky enough to escape childhood diseases and accidents. The goals and expectations we have for our lives have a big impact on what we accomplish. We will naturally accomplish only a small portion of our potential if we plan for only half or a third of the time we should live. Believing in a long and meaningful life is a much more positive outlook than letting fear and self-limiting ideas determine our fate. By adopting an optimistic outlook and emphasizing development and opportunities, we can realize our complete potential and lead lives that surpass our most ambitious dreams. We celebrate birthdays and mark anniversaries, reinforcing the idea that we're another year older, closer to the end. Throughout our adult lives, the image of death looms, and we're conditioned to expect and prepare for it. The truth is that the suggestion of death has caused more havoc and ruined more lives than almost anything else in human history. It's responsible for most of the fear that plagues our species. A prominent physician once said that if children, instead of hearing so much about death, were taught about immortality, they would retain their youth much longer and potentially extend their lives. Imagine a world where birthdays, instead of emphasizing aging, celebrate life's milestones and the timeless nature of the spirit. We'd no longer remind children every 365 days that they're a year older. Instead, we'd focus on the spirit's agelessness and immortality. Deep within our souls, we'd realize there's a life principle that knows neither age nor death. We'd discover that old age is largely a matter of mental attitude, and we become what we're convinced we must be. Consider a woman who, despite reaching her 80s, continued to pursue her passion for painting. She surrounded herself with vibrant colors, inspiring artwork, and young artists. Her studio was a haven of creativity and joy, where age was irrelevant. Her paintings reflected her youthful spirit, and her energy and enthusiasm were contagious. The average lifespan is steadily increasing because science is teaching us how to live healthier and maintain our youth. People used to age and die much younger than they do now. We don't dwell on death as much as in earlier times, when preparing for the afterlife seemed to be the primary occupation. There's no greater enemy to the aging process than living joyfully. Hope, good cheer, and joy are the embodiment of the youthful spirit. If you want to stay young, cultivate this spirit. Think youthful thoughts, spend time with young people, and engage in their activities and ambitions. Play the youthful role not half-heartedly, but with enthusiasm and zest. You can't use any ability until you believe you can. Your reserve power remains dormant until your faith in yourself calls it into action. If you want to remain young, act as if you feel young. Stop thinking and acting like you're aging. Instead of walking with stooped shoulders and a slow, dragging step, adopt an upright posture and put a spring in your step. Walk with the elasticity of a young person full of life, spirit, and vigor. Remember, the body isn't old until the mind gives its consent. Stop thinking of yourself as old, and stop manifesting symptoms of decrepitude. The impression you make on others will react to you. If you let others perceive you as physically and mentally aging, reversing their conviction becomes an uphill battle. When we have a burning ambition for something, we strive for it, connect with it mentally, and relate to it through our thoughts. We establish a connection with our desired goal, making every effort to attain it. This mental exertion is a real force that helps align our dreams with reality. Consider a modern, fashion-conscious individual. They don't behave or dress like an elderly person. Gone are the days of old-fashioned bonnets and matronly gowns. Women of advancing age now dress youthfully, appearing younger than their grandmothers at the same age. They actively strive to maintain a youthful appearance. Men, on the other hand, are more prone to neglecting their appearance as they age. They may grow their hair longer, sport beards, hunch their shoulders, shuffle their feet, and become less meticulous about their attire. They don't prioritize preserving a youthful look as much as women, who often go to great lengths to defy the signs of aging and maintain their attractiveness. The habit of aging must be combated like any other vice, by reversing the processes that form it. Instead of surrendering to the convictions and fears of old age, firmly deny them and affirm the opposite. When the suggestion arises that your powers are diminishing, prove it wrong by exercising the faculties you believe are weakening. Giving up is simply surrendering to age. We tend to find what we seek in this world. If, as we age, we constantly look for signs of aging, we'll undoubtedly find them. The danger lies in mistaking temporary moods for permanent conditions. For instance, If you have trouble concentrating one day, you might jump to the conclusion that your mental faculties are declining due to age. A person focused on the aging process tends to draw erroneous conclusions from temporary moods and feelings, mistaking them for permanent conditions. Most people who show signs of premature aging suffer from the poison of chronic thought, the poison of chronic old age. From the cradle, they've heard about old age, the repeated belief that at a certain age, one naturally slows down and prepares for the end. Instead of fighting age with thoughts of eternal youth and vigor, they've entertained thoughts of weakness and decline. Imagine a group of friends in their 50s constantly joking about their forgetfulness and declining energy. They reinforce each other's negative beliefs about aging, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of physical and mental deterioration. Instead of creating the habit of looking for signs of age, create the habit of looking for signs of youth. Accustom yourself to thinking of your body as robust and flexible, and your brain as strong and active. Never allow yourself to think you're declining, that your faculties are deteriorating, or that you can't think as well because your cells are getting old. Remember, those who believe they're aging, age, and those who believe they're young, stay young. The remarkable ability of many actresses and opera singers to maintain their youthful appearance is a testament to the power of mental influence. They feel it's imperative to look young, and their unwavering belief manifests in their physicality. If these same individuals had chosen different careers, they might appear a decade or two older than they actually are. There are far too many exceptions to the widespread belief that our faculties decline after 50, 60, or 70 to be swayed by it. In fact, we should be doing our best work after 50, as long as our brains remain active, fresh and young, and our brain cells aren't ravaged by unhealthy living, worry, fear, selfishness, or disease induced by wrong living or thinking. The mind can continuously increase in vigor and power. Consider a renowned scientist who, well into their 80s, continued to publish groundbreaking research and mentor young scientists. Their passion for discovery and unwavering belief in their intellectual capabilities kept their mind sharp and agile, defying the stereotypes of aging. Numerous individuals between 60 and 80 are as robust and vigorous, both physically and mentally, as they were 20 years ago. A businessman who faced bankruptcy at 40 due to excessive stress is now, at 80, more prosperous and resilient in mind and body than many men in their 50s. He doesn't believe in aging because he knows that not a single cell in his body today is the same as it was a decade ago. Many of us overlook the biological fact that nature grants us the power of perpetual renewal. No cell in our body can grow old because they're all frequently renewed. Physiologists tell us that the cells in some muscle tissues are renewed in just a few months. Some experts estimate that 80 to 90% of all cells in the body of an ordinarily active person are completely renewed within a couple of years. However, mental attitude is paramount. It's impossible to stay young while convinced that one must inevitably manifest the characteristics of old age. Thoughts of old age imprint themselves on new body cells, making them appear 40, 50, 60, or 70 years old. We must maintain the conviction that no cell in our body can be old because they're constantly renewed. A group of elderly individuals participated in a study where they were immersed in an environment that replicated their lives 20 years earlier. They were encouraged to dress, act, and think as they did in their younger days. Surprisingly, their physical and mental health improved significantly, demonstrating the power of mindset over aging. Age isn't determined solely by years, but by the vitality and flexibility of the cellular protoplasm in our bodies. Nothing ages protoplasm like aged thoughts and enemies of serenity, such as worry, anxiety, fear, anger, hatred, revenge, or any discordant emotion. If you keep your protoplasm young by holding on to youthful ideals, there's no reason you can't live well into the adolescence of your second cycle. Constantly affirm, I am young because I perpetually renew myself. My life comes new each instant, infinite with life. I am new each morning and fresh each night because I live, move, and have my being in Him, who is the source of all life. Don't just affirm this mentally, say it aloud. Make this image of perpetual rejuvenation and recreation so vivid that you feel the thrill of youthful renewal throughout your entire system. Some people try to reverse the physical ravages caused by unhealthy living and thinking by applying external fixes. Beauty salons are filled with women desperately trying to maintain a youthful appearance, unaware that the elixir of youth lies within their minds, not in bottles or jars. There's something unsettling about seeing an elderly woman whose heart is no longer young, with a painted face and dressed like a teenager. Such a woman deceives no one but herself. Others can see the aged skin beneath the makeup, the wrinkles she tries to conceal. You can't hide age with frivolous pretenses. Painting your cheeks and wearing youthful clothes doesn't make you young. Age is largely a matter of the mind. If the mind has hardened, grown dry and disinterested, if there's no charm in the personality, then one is old, regardless of the number of years lived. Consider a wealthy socialite who spends her days indulging in excesses and neglecting her health. Despite expensive treatments and cosmetic procedures, her face betrays her age. The lines etched by stress, unhealthy habits, and a lack of purpose are impossible to erase with external remedies. A woman of modest resources, on the other hand, who lives a full life full of passion and purpose, exudes youth. She places a high value on leading a healthy lifestyle, developing deep connections, and partaking in enjoyable hobbies. She appears years younger than her actual age because of her inner vibrancy. Beauty physicians who treat skin and hair to try and remove signs of aging are best served by wealthy, selfish, and indolent women who lead luxurious lives and continually participate in activities that speed up aging. Aging-related symptoms have never been successfully treated, and they never will be, in lieu of addressing the underlying cause. Age's destructive effects cannot be reversed externally. Instead, the mind and heart are the root of the problem. Despite all the world's beauty, physicians, the ravages of beauty will manifest when one stops being helpful and kind and loses interest in life. The idle wives of wealthy men often can't understand why they age so rapidly when they lead such easy, carefree lives. They're puzzled that they don't retain their youthful appearance for as long as their husbands, even though they don't have to work and all their needs are met without effort. The truth is that these women stagnate, and nothing ages faster than mental and physical stagnation. Work, useful employment of some kind, is the price of all real growth and human expansion. Those who indulge in continuous idleness pay the price of constant physical, mental, and moral deterioration. An unused ship in the dock will rot and decay much faster than a ship at sea in constant use. All the forces of nature seem to combine to corrode and destroy what isn't used. The essences of eternal youth are work, love, kindness, sympathy, helpfulness, and unselfish interest. These never grow old. If you befriend them, they'll act as a leaven in your life, enriching your nature, sweetening and ennobling your character, and prolonging your youth even to the century mark. We're learning that the legendary fountain of youth lies within ourselves, in our own mentality. Rejuvenation and perpetual renewal are possible through the right thinking. We appear as old as we think and feel because thoughts and feelings maintain or change our appearance in exact accordance with their persistence or variations. It's impossible to appear and remain young unless we feel young. Youthful thinking must become a habit in our lives. Those who give God the greatest opportunity within them experience a deeper connection and live better alongside infinite life. If we knew how to live, move, and have our being in Him, being conscious of it at every moment, then we would know what it means to truly live. We would be satisfied because we would awaken in His likeness. Deep within every heart that hasn't forgotten the sense of its inner vision lies the conviction that we're one with some unknown and invisible power, and in some way, we're inseparably connected with infinite consciousness. It's a fundamental law of the mind that thoughts and convictions attract their own kind. A thought of hatred is a magnet for hatred, and the longer we harbor it, the more firmly we contemplate and focus our minds on it, the stronger and more powerful that magnet becomes. Imagine a young woman who constantly worries about her health, fixating on every minor ache and pain. She scours the internet for information about diseases, fueling her anxiety. Over time, her preoccupation with illness manifests in her body, and she develops a range of psychosomatic symptoms. Conversely, a man who practices gratitude and focuses on the positive aspects of his life attracts more abundance and joy. He celebrates his successes, expresses appreciation for his loved ones, and cultivates a sense of inner peace. This positive mindset not only enhances his well-being, but also draws more positive experiences into his life. These instances show how our thoughts have the ability to influence our reality. We draw more negativity into our lives when we dwell on it. However, we may spread happiness beyond ourselves when we make the decision to nurture pleasant thoughts and feelings. We are all connected even if we are all different. Even in the midst of combat, this unbreakable thread of connection that unites all people into one enormous family has shown itself. Once fierce adversaries, soldiers have swiftly bonded over their common humanity. Imagine two troops, injured and stranded in a no-man's land but on different sides. They come to understand each other despite their initial hostility, since they both suffer and want to survive. They support one another, exchange tales, and create a camaraderie that goes beyond their political disagreements. Soldiers who have fought side by side in intense combat have repeatedly learned, while recovering from their wounds next to one another, that they are at their core brothers. These guys would never have been forced to shoot or hurt one another if they had known one another's souls prior to the fight, as they did in the hospital. Nations are becoming closer despite our shortcomings, errors, and transgressions. The interests of humanity are being swiftly brought together by scientific discoveries, technological breakthroughs, and enhanced global connectedness, resulting in the development of deep and intimate relationships, even between the most distant countries. Evidence of the unity of the universe and of humanity is being gathered by scientists. This illustrates how all life is interconnected. Everything that we observe in the cosmos is only a varied expression of the one substance, the one eternal force or essence. Our thoughts and emotions can materialize in destructive or productive ways, just like electricity. We have the option to use them to sow discord and division, or to use them to promote compassion, understanding, and unity. We need to understand that our ideas and beliefs have a significant influence on both our lives and the environment we live in. For ourselves and for all of humanity, we may build a better future by deciding to put our attention on unity, love, and interconnectedness. A basic principle of the mind is that our beliefs and ideas draw like people to us. A hateful idea attracts more hate, and the longer we hold on to it, the stronger and more potent that magnet gets. Imagine someone who is preoccupied with bad news and tragic incidents all the time. Their mind turns into a haven for worry and anxiety, drawing more unfavorable things into their existence. They could encounter elevated levels of stress, health issues, and disrupted interpersonal bonds. On the other hand, abundance and joy are attracted to those who focus on the positive elements of life and cultivate gratitude. They nurture inner peace, cherish their loved ones, and rejoice in their accomplishments. In addition to improving their well-being, having an optimistic outlook attracts more good things into their lives. These instances show how our thoughts have the ability to influence our reality. We draw more negativity into our lives when we dwell on it. However, we may spread happiness beyond ourselves when we make the decision to nurture pleasant thoughts and feelings. Despite our differences, we're all interconnected. This invisible bond of unity that binds humanity into one great family has manifested itself even on the battlefield. Soldiers who were once bitter enemies have quickly become friends, recognizing their shared humanity. Imagine two soldiers from opposing sides, wounded and stranded in no man's land. Despite their initial animosity, they find common ground in their shared suffering and desire for survival. They help each other, share stories, and forge a bond of friendship that transcends their political differences. Time and again, soldiers who fought fiercely against each other have discovered, while recuperating side by side, that they are truly one in sympathy and sentiment, brothers at heart without even knowing it. If these men had seen each other's souls before the battle, as they did in the hospital, they would never have been induced to fire upon or harm each other. Despite our failings, mistakes, and crimes, nations are growing closer. Scientific discoveries, technological advancements, and increased global connectivity are rapidly welding the interests of humanity together, bringing even the most distant countries into close and intimate relationships. Evidence of the unity of the universe and of humanity is being gathered by scientists. This illustrates how all life is interconnected. Everything that we observe in the cosmos is only a varied expression of the one substance, the one eternal force or essence. Our thoughts and emotions can materialize in destructive or productive ways, just like electricity. We have the option to use them to sow discord and division, or to use them to promote compassion, understanding, and unity. We need to understand that our ideas and beliefs have a significant influence on both our lives and the environment we live in. For ourselves and for all of humanity, we may build a better future by deciding to put our attention on unity, love, and interconnectedness. This unwavering faith, this trust in the unfathomable divine cosmic intelligence, has brought solace and lasting peace and happiness to countless individuals. It's the only thing that can truly bring us lasting peace and happiness. There's something more than just brain power needed for a person to be a true constructive force in the world, and that's their divine connection, their alignment with the current flowing towards God. Without this essence, despite everything our minds and bodies can achieve, we feel an emptiness within, a yearning for something we can't quite define. Imagine a state-of-the-art electric car, fully equipped and ready for service, except for one crucial element, the connection to the electrical current. Without this connection, the car remains powerless, unable to fulfill its purpose. Similarly, fullness, satisfaction, and divine energy can only come from attuning ourselves to something beyond the physical and mental plane. We must connect to the infinite source of power, or we'll be like that disconnected car, lacking the driving force that empowers us to move forward. We tap into this divine current flowing towards God through contemplation, prayer, noble actions, selfless service, and honest efforts to live our best lives. We cannot make this connection through selfish motives or greedy acts. It's perplexing that humans would risk disconnecting from this powerful current flowing toward truth, justice, and God, seeking a substitute for their own feeble strength. Yet every time we knowingly do wrong, every time we deviate from the truth, every time we commit a dishonest or unworthy act, or do something petty and despicable, we disconnect from this current and diminish its omnipotent control over us. We break our connection and become prey to all sorts of fears and doubts. It's been rightly said that when a person commits a wrong act, they've linked themselves to pain. Due to the unity of all life, they've established a connection between themselves and the entire human stream of vicious influences. They've connected with all the forces in the universe that conspire to drag them further away from the Creator and Inspirer of all good. The opposite is equally true. If a person performs a good deed and engages in noble work, all creative and uplifting forces will come to their aid. They'll be strengthened by the added power of all others working with the Spirit on the same plane. All good things vibrate at the same frequency, belonging to the same family. Similarly, all bad things vibrate in unison and belong to the same family. Attract one, and you attract them all because they're on the same plane. A discouraged and dejected state of mind, for example, connects with the entire discouraged and dejected family, the whole army of failure. When we make this connection with our whole being, we tune into that gloomy and disheartening vibration. If we harbor thoughts of poverty and fear of want, we unite with all the poverty vibrations in the universe, and everything with an affinity for poverty rushes towards us through the current we've established. By the same principle, if one has joyful and optimistic thoughts, if one connects with the current of opulence, the generous and overflowing supply of the Creator's abundance, one allies with all the subtle, productive, and creative forces of existence. We used to think that our five senses were the sole ways in which we could get information and impressions. We now realize that communication is not limited to the physical realm. More intimate and meaningful than any physical encounter or expression is a mental and spiritual communion. Picture yourself and a lifelong buddy sitting in cozy silence. Despite without exchanging gestures or words, they have a strong sense of understanding and connection. Their thoughts transcend the constraints of the physical senses to communicate in a subtle, gratifying way. At the most sacred times of life, words seem insufficient, even sacrilegious. We understand that they are too awkward to portray the nuanced details of two souls in harmony, feeling pity and love. The love message tells us that God, you and I are all parts of a single heart that beats with the love of life. Every creation has a single life flowing through its veins. The mental ear hears harmonies that are too faint for the auditory nerve to pick up on, and the mind sees beauty that the physical eye never sees. The soul gains insights that are beyond the reach of the mind because of its intimate contact with God. Through this divine connection, through the great within us, we can tap into a power that revolutionizes our lives. We can unleash currents of energy infinitely more potent than any physical force. The cosmic ether surrounding us is filled with divine vibrations, charged with spiritual force and omniscient intelligence, always waiting to flood our minds when we make the right connections and are ready to receive them. This cosmic ether, the universal substance, is the source of all supply, the divine power that most people exclude from their lives because they don't know how to connect with it. They close their minds to the divine influx, refusing to believe what isn't demonstrable through the senses. We're often skeptical of the invisible, convinced only by the material, what we can see or feel. But imagine if children were raised in an atmosphere that embraced the invisible realities, teaching them to harness these forces for their own benefit, just as we shape and mold material things. There would be far fewer failures in life. Humans were meant to live in perpetual contact with the power that created them, staying attuned to all that is healthy, good, pure, and true. Sadly, we constantly lose this connection, rendering ourselves weak and powerless when we could be potent, strong, and creative. Living in wireless communication with the divine current that runs through all creation is to be in touch with divinity, and that is to be divinely successful. No external power can sever our communication with this current. Even the worst criminals, isolated from human society, can remain one with their source if they choose. The Creator hasn't cut them off or discarded them. They've broken the connection themselves. The Creator wouldn't strike down even the most profane wretch with lightning or crush them with anger. The great love of the Father would still sustain them, keep them alive, nourish them, and allow the same beautiful sun to shine on them as it does on the greatest saint. If we could grasp this magnificent truth, our unity with the grand creative principle of the universe, it would transform humanity. It would banish fear, bring peace and harmony to our lives, and give us a sense of security, satisfaction, and happiness we've never known before. Until we realize our oneness with God and each other, we can never reach our full stature or utilize the manifold powers within our reach. We'll never attain that glorified manhood that matches the Creator's model of the possible human, until it's ingrained in every child's nature that they are not only created by their Father, Mother, God, but are forever vitally connected with Him, closer than their own hands and feet, closer than the beating of their hearts. This unity of the child with their Creator is the principle that must ultimately mold the human race into truly perfect beings.